Love is more than a promise. It is a journey shaped by dreams, family, and the hope of tomorrow. In this heartfelt story, Toan and Diem are gently urged by Grandma to marry, and beneath the golden light of an evening garden, they begin to imagine their future together. From tender talks of pregnancy and the wish for a baby girl, to the joy of seeing their entire family's blessings and prayers. Every moment shines with warmth and devotion. Join us, subscribe to our channel, and step into this beautiful tale of love, family, and cherished beginnings. It had become a familiar scene in the little courtyard behind the old family house. Grandma sitting in her wicker chair, her eyes half hidden under the shade of her broad-brimmed hat, watching Toan and Diem with the patient tenderness of someone who had lived long enough to understand what truly mattered. Every time the two of them appeared together, whether they were helping her water the flowers, serving tea, or simply laughing over something trivial, she would smile knowingly and remind them that life was too short to keep love waiting. "You two should think about getting married soon," she would say with a gentle firmness that made her words feel less like a suggestion and more like an inevitable truth. Her voice carried no pressure, only hope, as if her greatest wish was to see her grandson and the woman he loved finally settle down under the same roof before her time in this world came to an end. That afternoon, the garden was quiet except for the distant hum of cicadas and the rustle of leaves stirred by a soft breeze. Toan had just returned from helping Grandma walk her slow steps around the yard, and now, as she rested indoors, he and Diem found themselves sitting side by side on the stone bench beneath the old apricot tree. The late sunlight poured through the branches, painting golden patterns on the ground and wrapping the two of them in a soft, honey-colored glow. Toan glanced at Diem, her face calm yet radiant, and suddenly remembered Grandma's words from earlier that morning. His hand almost instinctively reached for hers. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as though they had been waiting for this moment all along. "You heard Grandma again, didn't you?" Toan said with a playful smile, though his voice carried a certain seriousness. "She won't stop until we finally listen to her." Diem lowered her eyes shyly, a faint blush rising to her cheeks. "She only wants us to be happy. Maybe she's right. Maybe we've been waiting too long." The simplicity of her words struck Toan's heart in a way no grand speech could. For years, he had known Diem was the one he wanted beside him for the rest of his life. Yet hearing her acknowledge it openly, softly, without hesitation, made him feel as though the ground beneath them had grown steadier, more certain. He tightened his grip on her hand and leaned closer. "I can imagine it," he said with a dreamy tone. "Our wedding day, the way you'd look walking toward me, and the way Grandma would cry because her wish finally came true." Diem laughed, the sound as delicate as chimes in the breeze. "You're imagining too far ahead," she teased, but her smile betrayed the warmth of someone who wanted that future just as much. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the quiet life around them, the distant barking of a dog, the faint scent of flowers drifting through the air, the slow rhythm of their own breathing. In that moment, the world outside seemed irrelevant. It was only the two of them, the echo of Grandma's gentle urging and the dream of what was yet to come. Toan turned once more to look at her, his voice softer now, filled with reverence. "Grandma's right, Diem. I don't want us to wait any longer either." And as the sun sank lower, casting its final golden rays across the yard, Diem finally met his eyes. She did not need to answer with words. Her smile alone was enough to promise him that one day soon they would give Grandma the joy she longed for, and themselves the life they had always dreamed of. The quiet magic of that golden evening did not end with Grandma's gentle urging or Toan's heartfelt confession. As the soft glow of twilight deepened, their conversation drifted toward the kind of dreams only two people deeply in love dared to imagine. Toan, still holding Diem's hand as though it were the most fragile treasure, leaned back against the stone bench and gazed at her with the warmth that carried both affection and wonder. His voice, lower now, carried a note of playfulness wrapped in sincerity. "You know," he murmured, "I keep picturing what it would be like if you were expecting our child one day." Diem's eyes widened slightly, and her cheeks flushed a deeper shade of pink. She turned her face away, pretending to watch the swaying branches above them, but Toan could see the shy smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "You think too far ahead again," she whispered, though her voice was soft and sweet, betraying that the thought was not unwelcome. "I can't help it," Toan laughed quietly. "I imagine you carrying our little one, and even then you'd still be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Maybe even more beautiful because you'd be carrying part of us." His words, spoken with such conviction, made Diem's heart flutter. She bit her lip, trying to hide how deeply touched she was, but her eyes shone like polished glass under the fading light. Slowly, she let herself lean into his shoulder, her hands still resting in his. She said softly, "If that day comes, I hope our first child will be a girl, a sweet, gentle little girl." Toan's heart skipped a beat at her words. "A girl?" he repeated, his smile widening. "Then she must have your smile, your kindness, your way of looking at the world. I want her to be just like you, Diem, beautiful on the outside, but even more beautiful in her heart." The thought of it filled them both with a joy that was almost tangible, as though they could already see a small figure running barefoot across the courtyard, laughter echoing against the walls of the family home. Diem could almost picture herself kneeling in the grass, helping their daughter pick flowers, while Toan watched from a distance with pride in his eyes. Toan, too, found himself lost in the daydream of carrying his little girl in his arms, of tucking her to sleep with a story every night, of watching Diem cradle their child with the gentleness only a mother could possess. They began to share these dreams aloud, weaving them into a tapestry of possibility. Diem imagined the baby's tiny hands curling around Toan's finger, the little girl's first words, her first steps, her first day of school. Toan added his own visions, her laughter when he lifted her high into the air, the way she would run to Diem for comfort, the way her big eyes would shine whenever Grandma told her old family stories. Every detail made the dream feel more real, more alive, as though they were quietly building the foundation of their future right there, under the apricot tree. A gentle silence settled between them again, not of absence but of fullness, hearts too full to need more words. Diem finally lifted her gaze, and Toan caught the way her smile trembled slightly, half shy, half overcome with happiness. "You think I'll be beautiful then?" she asked in a tone that was almost childlike in its vulnerability. Toan leaned closer, brushing his lips against her temple. "Even more," he said with certainty, "because beauty isn't just about how you look. It's about the love you carry, and I know you'll be the most loving mother in the world." Diem's heart melted, and she let out a laugh that was almost a sigh, her head resting against his chest. Their breaths rose and fell together, and for a fleeting moment, the dream of their little girl felt so close, as though she were already there with them. An unseen promise nestled between their joined hands, waiting for the right time to come into the world. The evening air grew cooler, yet neither Toan nor Diem felt the chill. They were too absorbed in the warmth of their shared dreams, too content with the thought of what lay ahead. For a long while, they simply sat there, hands intertwined, gazes drifting between each other and the horizon, where the sun had nearly disappeared. And then, as though carried by the same thought, both of them began to imagine not just their child, but the way their family would surround them with love when that long-awaited day finally arrived. "I want Grandma to hold her first," Diem whispered, her voice hushed with reverence. "She has been waiting for this moment for so long. Can you picture it, Toan? The look on her face when she sees her great-granddaughter for the first time?" Toan's chest tightened with emotion at the thought. "She'll cry," he said softly, smiling through the image. "She'll hold her so carefully, like she's holding the most delicate treasure, and she'll tell us that her prayers have finally been answered." Diem nodded, her eyes glistening with the tenderness of the vision. "And your mother," she added, "she'll stand beside Grandma, blessing us with every word, thanking heaven for giving her a granddaughter. I can almost hear her laugh through her tears." The picture grew richer with each word. They saw Tui, Toan's elder sister, clapping her hands with joy, her face lighting up as she leaned over the crib to whisper promises of love and protection to the tiny girl. They imagined the house filled with voices, warm, joyful, united, as prayers of gratitude rose in unison, not just for the baby, but for the love that had brought her into existence. The thought filled Toan with a sense of peace he had never known before. He turned toward Diem, brushing a stray lock of hair from her cheek. "We'll not be alone, Diem. When that time comes, it won't just be you and me. It'll be all of us, a family. Every blessing, every prayer will surround our daughter like a shield of love." Diem closed her eyes briefly, letting his words sink deep into her heart. She pictured herself in the middle of that moment, sitting on the bed, cradling her newborn, while Grandma placed a wrinkled hand gently on her shoulder. She imagined Toan's mother leaning down to kiss the baby's forehead, her voice breaking as she whispered blessings, while Tui laughed and cried at the same time. The image was so vivid that her lips curved into a smile without her even realizing it. When she opened her eyes again, Toan was watching her with a tenderness that made her blush. "You're smiling," he said softly. "I'm imagining it," she admitted, her voice light with wonder. "And it feels so real, so beautiful." He squeezed her hand, his own smile reflecting hers. "Then let's hold on to that dream. Let's carry it with us until the day it finally comes true." For a while, they let silence wrap around them again, but it was not an empty silence. It was the kind of silence that hums with unspoken promises, the kind that glows with hope and love. Their hearts were so full, it felt like as if the night sky itself could hear their unvoiced prayer, that their journey together would be blessed, that their child would be born into a circle of unwavering love, that every moment of their future would carry the light they felt in that instant. As the first stars appeared above, Toan drew Diem close, resting his chin gently against her hair. "We'll get there," he whispered. "And when we do, we'll look back on this night and realize it was the beginning." Diem nestled against him, her heart steady and sure. For her, there was no need to rush. The promise of their love was enough to make the waiting sweet. Together, they sat beneath the ancient apricot tree, two souls bound by dreams of tomorrow, surrounded by the unseen blessings of family, and carried forward by a love strong enough to make every hope feel certain.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Mí Tử Diễm Review. Rất vui vì ngày hôm nay lại gặp lại các bạn trong tập phim ngày hôm nay. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay thì trên đường về quê thăm bà nội của Toàn thì Diễm và Toàn đã trò chuyện với nhau rất là vui vẻ. Cả hai người đang tưởng tượng về đám cưới trong tương lai của mình và khi Diễm mang thai đứa con đầu lòng sẽ trông như thế nào. Toàn và Diễm cảm thấy thực sự rất là hạnh phúc và mong ngày đó nhanh đến thật là nhanh và sẽ được sự chúc phúc của mẹ Toàn, bà nội và chị gái Thúy cùng toàn thể mọi người xung quanh. Liệu rằng ước nguyện đó của Toàn và Diễm có thành hiện thực hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ ở các tập tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy ấn vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày vào lúc 6 giờ Việt Nam trên kênh Lý Tử Diễm Review nhé. Cảm ơn, xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn. Bye bye.